Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of Entrep Energy. I'm your host, Tamerlan Sadekov, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of marketing and product launches. Joining us today is our esteemed guest, Kelvin Moe, a marketing strategist and our entrepreneur who's helped countless companies successfully bring their products to market. Kelvin, it's fantastic to have you with us today.
Great to have you too.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm wonderful, and nice. Thank you for having me today.
Fantastic. Let's kick things off the basics. So the first question is, who should be your target customer when launching a new product?
Well, your target customer, defining a target customer for a new product is really crucial for success, and it's not about reaching everyone. You see, it's all about focusing on your efforts and people, most likely like who's going to buy your products. It starts with like several factors that has to like define your selection. You're talking about demographics, psychographics, talking about demographics like age, weight and the age and the sex. Psychographics goes into like the attitudes of the people towards the market and the need points and the pain points of people, because you have people who have problems with particular products, and you can use that pain products and actually strategize your market. And we also have a buying behavior of customers, and you never know if they like to buy like online or in store, and those which you like to buy impulsive buying, those are planned purchases. So these are some of the things you can use to actually put your marketing strategies together. It's very important to put it together. Once you've identified several like potential targets, your customers actually they begin to listen to you more because they understand you've actually caught and tailored your products towards what they need. And that's exactly how it goes.
Oh, that makes sense. So narrowing it down a bit, we'll go to the next question. How important is market research before a launch, or which stages should the business particularly focus on?
Let's see. Now, your market strategy and your market research is so crucial. Now, it's definitely the foundation for you making your initial, marketing decisions. So you risk actually launching a product without having any knowledge of what value it has in the society if you don't really make your market research. It's that important. So why is it crucial? First of all, you have to understand your customer needs. You need to understand, the validated product ideas you have. You do have a lot of like competitors in the game. You need to understand them. You need to identify them. So you need to set a pricing strategy. You need to understand basically all that market research, put all together to reduce the risk of losing whatever you've put into the market. And you should be able to have this done because you need to forecast the demand. Like for example, you have Nike and you have Coca-Cola and you have people who can actually, like, if they should release any product, they definitely sit and you're going to have, a demand. These are really important things you should put together. And so, yeah, that's how it is.
Well noted. So no skipping market research. I'll ask you next question. And what's the secret of crafting a strong value proposition? Could you perhaps define the steps?
A value proposition is a concise statement that highlights the specific benefits your product or service offers. Now, how it solves a problem amidst a need of your target audience, what makes it unique and compared to competitors? Well, there's certain steps to craft a strong value proposition. First, you need to identify your target audience. Why do you need that? Your value proposition must be tailored to the specific needs and desires of your audience. How do you define your ideal customer persona? You need demographics and goals. You already have that. Now, for example, if your product is a meal delivery service, all right, let's say, and your target audience might be busy professionals, all right, who don't have time to cook, but they care more about healthy eating, right? Now, what you don't understand right here is your pain product. You understand your pain points and your needs, right? So your value proposition would be to direct and address that particular problem your audience actually has. And you need to conduct surveys and interviews and probably like do a lot of investigation on the particular time frames you could actually get this done. And that will be done by your market research, which is very important to have. Now, these are the challenges they face, and the busy professionals might struggle with finding time to cook healthy meals, so leading to unhealthy eating habits. Now, what you need to do also is to define your product's key benefits. These are all the points that actually point out your value proposition, basically. And an example, for example, a meal delivery service doesn't really offer food, right? It saves time. basically, and it provides nutritious meals and eliminates the hassle of meal planning, which actually saves the time for professionals, actually sports, who don't have time for that. Now, this is one of the reasons actually you should have that done. Also, you need to decide if your product has a clear and concise message that passes to your clients. So these are the points you should point out from your value, and you need to have a proposition done to it. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
That was better than anyone else, and I just love it. And just going on, what do you think about how should business decide the pricing strategy for their new product? I believe that this is an essential question. This is like an essential question which all firms are thinking about, and they struggle with it because they don't want to raise the price too high or too low, where it's not cost effective to produce the good.
Now, deciding a pricing strategy for your customers doesn't really just affect it doesn't just affect the profitability in your pocket and what you get, but it also influences the customer's behavior towards your product. I would want to use like some weird examples we have around the world, but yeah, talking about how they perceive your brand, if it's actually overrated or not. And so a pricing strategy is more like kind of a pricing strategy. It is a pricing strategy. You see, it's not just a price, it's a pricing strategy. So it's a strategy to position your products in a way that your customers actually perceive how much you relate to your product and how you relate to them in a way. So it's a well thought out, a pricing strategy should be a very well thought out plan. Not just something you just want to play because of what you see your competitors making, but actually something that's well thought of. It should also have a value to it, right? It should also balance the customer's value and the competitive market that's out there. So we're talking about achieving a business goal, balancing competitiveness in the market, having your customers value the product too. So it's a teamwork.
The next question is quite an essential one as well. So what is the role branding play in product launches? And since we already touched the values, maybe you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Branding plays a pivotal role in product launches, acting as the foundation of how your product is perceived in the markets. It goes beyond the logo or tagline. It encompasses the indicative values and emotional connection your product carries with the target audience. Now, effective branding can actually, bring a lot of not just profitability, but actually more of loyalty to the product, and it significantly influences the success of the product. We have a lot of influencers who actually based on the brand of the products they wear, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, we can say. Now, here's a detailed breakdown of the role behind branding plays and the product launches. Now, you see differentiation in a crowded market. In a crowded market, you have a market that has a lot of competitors into it. You can't really differentiate one from the other. The brand actually is what stands out. So it does create a differentiation. So for example, let's give an example. Like an Apple's branding products. You have an Apple, I have an Apple product, and everybody who watches this knows exactly what we have right on the table. It stands out. So it emphasizes what? What does it emphasize? Innovation, right? Simplicity, basically, and the premium quality it stands for, which sets products out in the market. It also builds trust and credibility.
So brand isn't optional. What marketing channels are most effective for a product launch?
The effectiveness of marketing channels for a product launch depends on your target audience. Now, product type and definitely your budget. The question goes out to you. What marketing channels do you know of for products like, say, computers?
Social media comes first in mind because it's like open source. You can just publish anything. Yeah.
Now, even in social media, you have different channels, right? You have different groups you could actually use in to advertise your products and things like that, right? But they also depend on the budget you have.
Yeah.
You understand, right? But that's in layman's language. However, a multi-channel approach is very, very important. So you're not just stuck to social media. You gotta have other. You have the radio, you have a lot of, you have the TV, you have, you have
billboards.
Billboards, that's just only, billboards, you got stickers, you got a lot of different, options. And so having a multi-platform of channels, right, is very, very vital. It's crucial if you really have, it all depends on your budget, of course, right? You know how much it costs to have a billboard right now? So in New York? I mean, if you can't afford it, you just don't want to go there, right? So the most effective means these days actually happens to be social media and a couple of other, influences as we call them, right? Also like channels, basically. And that comes with a lot of like, also strategy, and your marketing research has to go down understanding what platforms your competitors also use, right? You don't want to be on the same platform with someone who's a competitor who already has that platform taken over from you. So that's very, very important. But definitely we know today's age actually relies a lot on social media marketing. That's why they're all over the place, right? Yeah. Let's see what else I got. I think we could also, apart from social media platforms being like, ideal for reaching out like, the broad audience, we have a couple of other platforms which might not just be, for everyone. We can say they're much more unique for like a particular, like, that's why we say it depends on your target audience, right? So you should actually be very, very peculiar about what your research tells you, right? Based on your target audience, that's exactly what's going to determine what channel is most effective for your product.
And the follow-up question is, what's your take on the importance of pre-launch activities?
Whoa, pre-launch. Let's imagine. Just take pre-launch just take like your birthday, right? Everyone should look forward to that day. All your customers should look forward to that day. Like it's like, 4th of July, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about, your question was about pre-launch, right? What do you think? How would you, prepare a pre-launch for a new like eco-friendly car?
I don't know actually. I would choose a specific day when something will happen, like when most of the people will be at home and they will be able to monitor the market and our website, if I'll own one. I'll choose like a Sunday, and my routine will be make a lot of advertising towards that day, like 3 days before the launch, 2 days before the launch.
Okay.
And each day, open step by step some pieces for a project, which will be of our concept car probably, or the real car already, and open it step by step, like not showing the full concept itself, but just, for example, the front, the doors, that kind of stuff.
Now, how do you plan to get this message across to people? Because they don't know what you're doing, but you got to get them to know it, right?
Yeah, I think the first day of our like introducing of our car, I would say that there is a specific car coming up, which is eco-friendly and like super good. And every day throughout our journey, I'll open one piece of this car.
Basically, before you actually have a pre-launch the pre-launch activities you need to do, they need to be promoted. Yeah. Basically, if you have like, just imagine you're an artist, okay? Just let's say you're not a car manufacturer like Elon Musk, right? Say you're an artist, okay? What do you do to get people to listen to your album? You promote the music. What do you promote?
Like music itself, like.
All right, tell me, what could be the marketing strategy for let's imagine you have an artist, okay, and you need your artist to actually sell to like the number one hit records, right? And he's had followers
like
right there.
Like the other previews, like the short videos.
There you go, pre-sale, right? Pre-listen, there you go, pre-orders, there you go.
Yeah.
So you have snippets of the tracks, right, sent out there every single day. You get people to get reels now. You have things like that. Use the social media to expand and promote the coverage of that product. That's what you call pre-launch, basically, before you drop, even before it drops. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You have other multi-channels which you have to also promote them on. So let's imagine you have not just one channel where you have to promote your product, but the other channels. We're talking about not just the, let's imagine you're a developer, okay, of a house and estate, right? How do you want to like promote the product that needs to be, it needs to be consumed before it's actually launched, you know what I mean? Because you have a piece of place that has to be sold up, right? Yeah. And you need to actually make sure that people actually have pre-orders at least more than 50% of that time, before that time. So you need to make sure, right, you have your multi-channels all well established. You have people driving the roads and see the billboards, oh my God, that leaf flat is on for sale right now, I'm gonna go for it. And can I, get it on credit and things like that? We have things all around, and that's how you do it. You need a pre-launch. It's as important as ever. It's very pivotal in what comes out on the date.
So it's like not surprised. You want people to wait the launch date as the day of the final TV show season.
Yeah, it's like it's like the grand finale of the season. It's like you've been watching TV series of let's put it like the Game of Thrones. Oh, that was my favorite basically, and was my favorite. And so I watched the last one. And I was like, that's it. But guess what? I had consumed everything else.
Yeah.
I consumed every series, every episode, and that was it. I was a diehard fan, and I'll really wear a shirt right of Game of Thrones. I'm like, damn, why do you have to end like that? So let's say for most people who don't understand, actually, the launch date is actually the end date of some products you get, because it's launch and that's it. You can't do anything about it. Everything you promised that they should be shown.
So let's imagine you launch your product, and then it's essential to understand, is it successful? And so how do you measure the success of a product launch?
Analysis, your market analysis actually of everything you've done should be well done. I mean, you can always compare like sales of your competitors. You can always get market value of what you've done before and after, right? So it's also important to get feedback. Also, customer feedback is very important to measure how much and how loyal your product has been towards your target audience. And those numbers actually go a long way. They go a long way to actually helping you to strategize future plans and future products. Yeah.
What you just said actually aligns with my opinion, because I've been a physicist throughout my whole life as a student, and my project, Antrop Energy, which combines physics and business, and it's actually already in there. All the formulas, everything is done using physics, like the formulas, the statistics, numbers, it's all from physics. What common mistakes do businesses make when launching a new product?
This question relates to everything that we said earlier, all the reasons why you need to actually have a market strategy. And so the common mistakes people make, right, and these market strategies actually come up with first, underestimating basically the target audience, underestimating the value of products for your competitors. So having wrong marketing analysis actually could get you into trouble. Just the same way you have a good marketing analysis that can get you, a very vital, influential role in how you strategize your products, you could have the other way, the opposite effects if you have the wrong marketing analysis. So you have a lot of researchers who might deal with inaccurate products, numbers and values, and this could actually affect the way you strategize things. That's one. Two, also we could have what you call wrong timing, okay, or bad timing, as we say it the other way. Now that means you want to drop your products actually. This is a common mistake when people actually try to get their products out on a very high frequency date. For example, holidays, where you have all the competitors really at the peak of the game, and you're a new product coming in that particular time. There's no way you're going to survive. I mean, it's like in a Clash of the Titans. You just can't come out there. You should be able to strategize the market. Also, there's also what they call a FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Which is you want to hit that target, you might actually miss out that target. So you have to strategize. People have inaccurate information to strategize enough to get that perfect timing of when you're supposed to drop that product. We had instances of a couple, not just car manufacturers, but even artists who had we had to work on their products when you had to drop your music, but we had no idea. Actually, one of our marketers made a mistake and didn't give that information that there was actually a rival artist dropping the product on that same day. But that's just one of those things, one of the companies I worked for. And that was it was a big issue, basically. And that could cause a really big effect, because what you want to direct the attention to that product in the right time. So the perfect timing is very important, but that's a mistake most people make. What else do we have? We have when people actually, let's say, they overestimate products, right? And they don't deliver enough of it. So, I mean, I don't mention some funny products that have been out there, from cars, right, to to some really funny, I would say, mobile things and gadgets we've had there. Not just gadgets and tech stuffs, but also services. I'm talking about services actually been launched, but they didn't really live to their full capability as we expected them. So, what else do we have on the table? Let's see. What other mistakes do they make? Let's say budget. Underestimating the budget that has to be put into it. And that's also part of the marketing strategy, and enough information that has to be provided before you actually come up with a date.
And something that is very interesting for me, how can businesses keep the momentum going after launch? Because after those old promises, everything, they launch a product, people buy it, they're happy with it, and at some point it just gets boring, and this buzz effect, it comes down.
Well, every product which is well strategized analyzed, I'll put it that way, does have a buzz in the market, right? Most actually seem to have a very loyal, fan base and a loyal target audience that keeps to your product. But guess what? Keeping that is what's even more difficult sometimes, right? Because you're dealing with a rival market, and you have to get so. Sometimes you see the loyalty of your products actually can bring you more than you actually expect. Not just profitability, but the feedbacks. The way it's maintained, the way it's actually updated, the way it's actually fed back from the customers, the way it's actually promoted and listened to, that makes it more of my best buddy. You get it? And that's how you make it.
Yeah.
You just got to keep that product being the best buddy to that customer, basically. And don't forget, times change, trends change, and so you have to look out there and look at your competitors, understand what's going out there, and also trying to be a leader in those aspects. Because we have some companies, I think you're probably aware of some products which seem to be just copycats. Now, I know I studied physics for a while. I remember being that, having that wonder of that scientific wonder of wow, sound and heat and everything. And for a while I thought of how? And I'm thinking about it, how can your company bring that wonder of physics into marketing and into entrepreneurship, in such a way that it can actually be like a moving force in this field? Could you please tell me?
Yeah, so let's go a couple of years before now.
Yeah.
Imagine those huge computers, massive. It's one room and only one small computer, a lot of space which covered with batteries and memory. And look at your computer now. It's very small, and it combines everything in it. You can use.
I've seen a smaller one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, smaller one because technology are improving step by step. And remember those massive batteries, right? And now your battery is very thin, very light, very small. And why is it? Because of physics.
Well, what can I say? Thank you for having me today. I really like the question. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing your insights and tips for the future entrepreneurs and how to launch a product.
Well, we're just getting started. I wish it was nice to be here with you. And anytime you let me know, I'm always glad to help you out and give more insights into what we've done and what we do, what we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice having you. Cheers.
To our audience, thank you for tuning in. Now you've got the basics of launching a product down. It's time to go out and create something great. Stay curious and see you next time.